Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the Smackdown review. And this was Smackdown's go-home show for WrestleMania Backlash, which is this Sunday. And before I get into the review, if you guys haven't checked out my previous video that I uploaded earlier today, the AEW Dynamite review is up of this past Wednesday's edition of Dynamite. So definitely go check out my review of that if you guys haven't seen it. Very good Dynamite it was this week. Very enjoyable. It was a good 2 hours of wrestling and entertainment. So check out my Dynamite review if you guys haven't seen it. But SmackDown tonight, I thought it was just a very meh show in my opinion. SmackDown has a problem. And that problem is I feel like they're just using the same superstars every single week. Like, how many weeks have we seen Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio and Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode all go at it? Same for Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, even though they're on Monday Night Raw. You know, they come on SmackDown every week, and it's always them facing Tamina and NATALYA on SmackDown, or Lana and Naomi on Monday Night Raw. It's the same shit. And I said it before. If Roman Reigns wasn't booked to be this, heel that WWE has made him out to be and, enjoyable, if it wasn't for Roman, SmackDown would be just as bad as Monday Night Raw. And that's a fact. But what do we get tonight? We had the women's tag team titles on the line, where Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defended them against NATALYA and Tamina once again. Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler once again. And in the main event, we saw Cesaro versus Jim Uso. And WWE did a little tease tonight because we saw Corbin versus Shinsuke Nakamura. At the end of the match, Nakamura ended up doing something and taking Corbin's crown. And I'll get to that when I explain that match. But overall, SmackDown was just a very meh show tonight. But let's get started with the review. So SmackDown opened up tonight with Jey Uso. Jey Uso was in the ring. He was on the mic. And he ended up saying that his brother, Jimmy, disrespected the head of the table last week. Of course, Roman Reigns. So Jey ended up saying that this week, he leaves them no choice but to handle some family business. Jey Uso then introduced his cousin, the head of the table, the tribal chief, Roman Reigns, calling him the man who will handle Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash this Sunday. So Reigns made his way out, and every time when Reigns makes his way out with his new entrance music, every time when I hear his music, it just, keeps on getting better. The more he comes out, the more I like his new theme music. It fits him perfectly well. So Reigns came out along with Paul Heyman. Reigns ended up marching down to the ring. So we saw a video package of last week, which was Throwback SmackDown, which I didn't review last week. But we saw a video package which showed Cesaro earning his shot at the Universal Championship against Roman. And, of course, Jimmy Uso's return. So we got that. So we had Reigns then turned to Jey Uso. He ended up saying that it's clear that they have some problems. One being Jimmy. So Reigns ended up addressing Cesaro. Reigns ended up saying that he likes Cesaro. He likes a lot of the boys in the back, and that he respects Cesaro because he's a top-tier talent. Reigns wanted to say that we could say Cesaro is one of the best wrestlers in the world, which Paul Heyman, was agreeing with that. Reigns ended up saying that he is so much more than a wrestler, and that he's the tribal chief. Reigns ended up saying that with everything he does, there's no way Cesaro could fulfill those roles. So Reigns then went on to say about how there's no way WWE and Fox, want Cesaro replacing him. So Reigns ended up saying about how him and Cesaro's resumes don't compare. So then Reigns ends up turning his attention to Jimmy Uso. Reigns wanted to say that it was simple, and Jay got to see how it all works last week. So Jimmy Uso ended up coming out. Jimmy made his way down to the ring. He was shown wearing his new shirt, and his new shirt ended up saying, "Nobody's bitch," which I know everybody's going to be buying that shirt probably because it had it in capital letters. Jey Uso also, I forgot to mention, Jey Uso ended up having a shirt of his own which said "Right Hand Man" on it. So Jimmy ended up saying all he hears is Roman run his mouth, while Jay, his brother, stands next to him, acting like Roman's bitch. So Jimmy ended up asking if Jay likes his shirt. He ended up saying to Jay that he's got one for him when he's ready to hop on the team. So Jimmy ended up saying now is the time, because he's not sure if Roman will make it past Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash. So Jay ended up speaking up to Jimmy. Jay ended up telling Jimmy that Reigns is their cousin. And Jay was asking Jimmy to please show respect to the family. So Jimmy was yelling back, and he was saying he's all about the family. Reigns ended up saying that must mean Jimmy is all about him because of all he's done for the family. Jimmy ended up saying that Reigns is part of the family, but not all of it. So Reigns then ended up asking Jimmy if he thinks that he can beat Cesaro this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash. So Jimmy ended up saying that he isn't trying to make this a thing. But since, Roman was asking, Jimmy ended up saying no. He doesn't think Roman could make it past Cesaro this Sunday. So Reigns then ended up asking Jimmy if he thinks he can fill his shoes and beat Cesaro. Jimmy ended up saying that he and Jay can. So he was asking if the Usos won the tag team titles and Reigns ended up losing his title, would they be the head of the table? Reigns ended up saying that's not how this works. So Reigns ended up going on, he's getting upset, and he ended up saying about how he puts the food on the table and that he carries the burden of the company. And also, he's the face of the WWE. So Reigns then ended up laughing at the idea of Jimmy thinking that he can be the man around here. So Reigns goes on taunting Jimmy, telling him what to do, what he does, and to show everyone that you're the man, and show the whole world that you can beat Cesaro. So Reigns and Jimmy end up staring each other down. Reigns then ended up asking Jimmy if he can beat Cesaro. So Jimmy ended up turning to the stage, and he ended up calling Cesaro out for a match. And he was saying that he's been off for a year, and that he wants this match. So out came Cesaro. Cesaro came out in a suit. Cesaro ended up saying that the challenge is accepted. So Cesaro ended up telling Reigns that he's going to beat his cousin Jimmy tonight, and then on Sunday, he's going to beat Reigns for the Universal Championship. So that was how the segment ended. But it was a pretty decent segment to open the show, with Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso. It was decent. And then we went to NATALYA and TAMINA versus Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. Women's tag team titles on the line. And this was a meh match in my opinion. It wasn't boring. It wasn't terrible by any means. It was just meh. So we had Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler end up coming out first. They came out along with Reginald. So NATALYA and TAMINA then came out. And the match ended with NATALYA and TAMINA win the match, where we had Tamina ended up delivering the Superfly Splash from the top onto Nia Jax. So Tamina went for the cover, and there you go. NATALYA and Tamina end up winning the match, and they are the new women's tag team champions. So it really doesn't matter, because the women's division is so fucking shitty and so terrible. Post-match, NATALYA and Tamina were being interviewed by Kayla Braxton. NATALYA ended up saying that this was for anyone who felt like their dream passed them by. She wanted to say that it's never too late to fight for your dreams. And she is so proud of Tamina. Tamina ended up thanking NATALYA and everyone else. They ended up raising the titles in the air. We had pyro going off. I'm like, really? And in my head, I'm like, oh, NATALYA and Tamina, they win the tag team titles, but Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan, they haven't even won the titles yet. So you basically go with NATALYA and Tamina over Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. I think those titles deserve to be around Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan. They deserve to be the women's tag team champions. But yeah, this is WWE we're talking about. Ruby Riott and Liv Morgan should deserve a shot at the women's tag team titles and win them. Overall, just absolutely boring match, in my opinion. Same shit. Except NATALYA and Tamina won the titles. Whoop-de-doo! So then we saw Kayla Braxton. Kayla Braxton ended up stopping Paul Heyman backstage, and it was confirmed that it's going to be Cesaro versus Jimmy later on in the night, which was the main event. So Kayla Braxton ended up stopping Paul Heyman backstage, and she ended up asking Paul Heyman if Jimmy can win the match and beat Cesaro. Paul Heyman ended up saying that he doesn't know about that, but he does know that Roman can beat Cesaro this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash. So that was what Paul Heyman had to say. Then we had the Nigerian Medal of Honor ceremony. Apollo Crews was in the ring, and Commander Aziz. Commander Aziz was shown standing on a podium in the middle of the ring. Apollo Crews ended up talking about bringing honor to the Intercontinental Championship and also to his home country. Apollo Crews then ended up saying that he will be champion for life, which I'm not so sure about that. But he ended up saying for Commander Aziz's hard work and loyalty, he's presenting Commander Aziz with a Nigerian Medal of Honor. So Apollo Crews then ended up placing the medal around Commander Aziz's neck, and they got interrupted by Big E. Big E was shown on the screen. He was taunting both Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. He was saying how Apollo Crews ended up stealing the Intercontinental Championship, but that he should not get too comfortable with it because he plans on taking back the title. So then out came Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn was pleading on the mic, and Apollo Crews was just pissed off at him being interrupted. Sami Zayn ended up wanting Apollo Crews to hear him out about the Intercontinental title. And then out came Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens ended up rushing into the ring, but he ended up getting beat down by both Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz. Big E then ended up coming out. He tried to go for Commander Aziz. Aziz ended up sending him to the apron. Apollo Crews and Kevin Owens were brawling. Big E ended up dumping Commander Aziz out to the floor. He ducked the Nigerian nail from Commander Aziz. So Kevin Owens ended up super kicking Big E and Apollo Crews. Sammy then ran in. He tried to go out with Kevin Owens, and he launched Kevin Owens into the corner. And Sami Zayn was going for the haluva kick, and Kevin Owens ended up moving out of the way. He ended up dropping Sami Zayn with the stunner. Big E then got up. He dropped Kevin Owens with the big ending. Big E then ended up going to hit the big ending on Apollo Crews, but Commander Aziz ended up pulling Apollo Crews out of the ring. So Big E ended up standing tall in the ring. He was yelling at Apollo Crews. And that was basically that. But overall, just very meh segment, in my opinion. You know it's going to be a fatal four-way for the Intercontinental title. So then we saw Rey Mysterio versus Dolph Ziggler. Match was okay in my opinion, but usual, same shit. You know, we're in this feud with Rey and Dominic and Dolph and Robert Roode. Of course, they're going to be facing them this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash, where the tag team titles are going to be on the line. So the match ended up starting off with Rey and Dolph locking up. Dolph ended up taking it to the corner. He was taunting Rey. Rey ended up locking up Dolph Ziggler from behind, but Dolph Ziggler ended up going to the ropes. Dolph ended up grabbing Rey from behind. He ended up applying a headlock. So Rey ended up fighting out of the headlock, but Dolph ended up dropping Rey with the shoulder. Dolph ended up taking Rey down with another headlock, which Rey ended up fighting out of it. And Dolph ended up dropping him with another shoulder. Dolph was keeping Rey down. He was taunting Dominic, who was on the outside. Robert Roode was on the other side of the ring. So Dolph was yelling in Rey's face. Rey ended up running the ropes. He ended up sending Dolph through the ropes out to the floor. Delivered a drop kick through the ropes. Rey ended up delivering a baseball slide under the bottom rope, which he took Dolph back down on the floor. So then SmackDown went to commercial. And then when SmackDown came back, we saw Dolph was just dominating on Rey. And at the end of the match, we had Rey Mysterio win, where Dolph ended up scooping Rey up. He slammed him in the middle of the ring. And Dolph ended up going for a scoop slam, but Rey ended up countering it. He rolled up Dolph, and there you go. Rey Mysterio ended up winning the match. So overall, the match was just okay, in my opinion, but it's the same shit. So then we saw Megan Moran. She was backstage with Cesaro. Cesaro ended up telling Megan Moran that he's very confident about beating Roman this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash, and that he doesn't think he can win the Universal Championship. He knows he can defeat Roman and win the Universal Championship. So that was what Cesaro had to say. And then we had Rey and Dominic Mysterio backstage with Kayla Braxton. Rey ended up saying to Kayla Braxton that they're so close to winning the tag team titles that they can feel it, and that he's ready to win gold with Dominic. So Dolph and Roode end up interrupting. Roode ended up saying that Rey got lucky tonight, and that it won't happen this Sunday. So they end up calling Dominic, names, and he ended up saying that they can call him champion after Sunday, which Dominic ended up saying to both Dolph and Rude. So Rude and Ziggler ended up yelling at Ray and Dominic as they walked off. So that was that. So then we had Bianca Belair. She was in the ring. Michael Cole was interviewing her. Michael Cole ended up saying that it's been 4 weeks since Bianca ended up defeating Sasha at WrestleMania to become the SmackDown Women's Champion. And Michael Cole then brought up Bianca facing Bayley this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash, where the title is going to be on the line. So Bianca ended up talking about shining and getting hate, and how people have doubted her for her whole life. So Bianca was asking, "Oh, where's Bayley? Where is she tonight?" So Michael Cole was like, "Oh, I figured you would say that." So Bayley then appeared on the screen. Bayley ended up saying that she's far away from Bianca and that she's joining us via satellite. So Bayley ended up saying that she won't get in the ring with Bianca after last week's attack, unless it's this Sunday at WrestleMania Backlash, when she takes the title off of Bianca. So Bianca ended up saying that when she gets her hands on Bayley this Sunday, it will be the roughest, toughest, and quickest victory. So Bayley was just laughing at that. Bianca ended up saying that she didn't want to stoop to Bayley's level, but she is about to hurt Bayley's feelings. She wanted to say that Bayley is only mad because she got taken care of by the Bellas at WrestleMania, while Bianca was in the main event and she won the title. So Bayley ended up saying that she sees her own past when she looks at Bianca out there while she's swinging her stupid ponytail. So Bayley then went on to say that fairy tale reigns don't end well, and that she will end Bianca's for good this Sunday. And that was a segment, but Bianca versus Bayley is the one match that I am looking forward to on WrestleMania Backlash, aside from Roman Reigns and Cesaro, which I think that's going to be a good match. Out of those two matches, I look forward to nothing else on the card. I think those are the only two matches that are going to be decent. And then we had Shinsuke Nakamura versus Corbin. And Shinsuke Nakamura, he ended up cutting a pre-recorded video. And he ended up saying that Corbin is the king of suckness, while he is the king of style. So Nakamura ended up saying that tonight, only one king will survive. And then we had Corbin. He ended up cutting a promo. Corbin was bragging about his style, and he ended up saying that Nakamura got a taste of the beating last week, and that Nakamura will get the whole damn feast tonight. So the match got underway. The match, just a very meh match in my opinion. We had Nakamura and Corbin end up blocking up. They end up going to the corner. Corbin ended up dropping Nakamura with a knee to the gut. Nakamura then blocked a suplex from Corbin. He ended up knocking Corbin into the ropes with a kick. So Corbin ended up leveling Nakamura with a right hand. Corbin then took control of the match, and he ended up using the middle rope to choke out Nakamura. The referee was warning Corbin to lay off the choke. Nakamura then ended up fighting back. Corbin ended up dropping him with a knee, another knee to his gut, to Nakamura's gut. Corbin then ended up taking Nakamura back down, started unloading with elbow strikes. Corbin was arguing with the referee. Nakamura ended up striking at Corbin. So at the end of the match, Corbin ended up rolling up Nakamura, and Corbin ended up winning the match. Post-match, Corbin ended up grabbing his crown, and he ended up putting it on. Nakamura ended up turning Corbin around, and he laid Corbin out with a roundhouse kick. And Nakamura then ended up leveling Corbin, delivered a Kinshasa to Corbin. So Nakamura's music ended up hitting. Nakamura was shown grabbing Corbin's crown. Nakamura was treating Corbin's crown like the crown is something special. So Nakamura then ended up putting the crown on his head, on his own head. So Nakamura was just celebrating with the crown on him, and that was that. But this point here, when Nakamura ended up placing the crown on his head, is WWE teasing on bringing back the King of the Ring tournament. I think that they might bring back the King of the Ring tournament. I hope they bring it back. I mean, with Corbin winning the King of the Ring tournament when they brought it back 2 years ago, can't believe Corbin's been called King Corbin for 2 years now. God help us all with that. But I said, when Corbin won the King of the Ring tournament 2 years ago, I'm like, I hope WWE doesn't bring back the King of the Ring tournament. But, as, 2 years later, I think that they should bring back the King of the Ring tournament, get the King name off of Corbin and have, somebody else be called King, bring back the tournament, or actually bring the pay-per-view back. Bring back the King of the Ring pay-per-view. Replace a gimmick pay-per-view like Extreme Rules or Money in the Bank, and bring back the King of the Ring pay-per-view. I think that's what they should do. Bring back the King of the Ring pay-per-view, have tournaments on Raw and SmackDown, and make the final match in the tournament at the pay-per-view. So do that. But, it's WWE. Knowing them, they probably won't do it. They probably won't bring back the King of the Ring pay-per-view. So, but that's in my opinion the right decision to go. Get rid of a gimmick pay-per-view like Extreme Rules. Like, what is extreme about Extreme Rules when there's no blood, or you can't use thumbtacks, or any other weapon that is extreme? But yeah, that could be a tease that WWE might consider bringing back the King of the Ring tournament there. So then we had Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce. They were in their office. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz ended up interrupting the both of them. Apollo Crews was furious about how the Nigerian Medal of Honor ceremony got interrupted. Adam Pearce ended up saying that he's trying to figure out who Apollo Crews will wrestle next week. And he ended up saying that Apollo Crews can't believe they would be rewarded with the match. So Adam Pearce ended up making the Fatal 4-Way match. So it's going to be Apollo Crews versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn versus Big E for the Intercontinental Championship next week. So Apollo Crews was furious, and that was that. So we're getting the Fatal 4-Way next week. So we then saw Shinsuke Nakamura backstage. He was looking at himself in a mirror. He was admiring Corbin's crown, how it looks on him. So another tease, there of, hopefully WWE bringing back the King of the Ring tournament. And then we got a new vignette from Aleister Black. So Aleister Black ended up reading another chapter from the Tales from the Dark Father book. And he ended up saying that this chapter is named The Lesson. Aleister Black ended up talking about trial by fire and how it can consume or cleanse you. He wanted to say that his father spoke of the cruelties of life and taught him the lesson. He ended up saying that he was taught wrong. He ended up saying that he is a cruel man because you have deemed it to be. And he ended up saying that it is easier to take a seat to watch life than it is to take a stand against it. He ended up saying, I could help you and teach you the lesson, but I won't, because you're not a participant. You're a spectator. So that was how the vignette from Aleister Black ended. But I heard a rumor. This was in the news and articles that I read. I heard that they might move Aleister Black to Monday Night Raw. I guess for them to quote unquote make the show different. What? Moving Aleister Black to Monday Night Raw is not going to make the show any different. It's just going to be the same. Monday Night Raw needs a refresh of epic proportions, because we all know how Monday Night Raw is every single week. It's a god-awful show. Same rematches every single week. Monday Night Raw needs a restart, a refresh. But knowing WWE, they're not going to do that. As long as they're making the money, that's all they care about is the money. And they don't care about improving these shows. I'm like, moving Aleister Black to Monday Night Raw is not going to make Monday Night Raw different. It's going to be the same shit. Make the show different. Are you kidding me? Oh, just by adding Aleister Black? So then we saw Jimmy Uso backstage. He was with Caleb Braxton. And Caleb Braxton was asking him about, having his first match in over a year. Jimmy ended up telling Caleb Braxton that this wasn't his idea. And he saw his first match back being with his brother, because they're the hottest tag team in the company. And now he's not even sure of that. He ended up saying about Jey Uso being with Roman and saying that Jey doesn't need him. So Jimmy ended up wondering what's wrong with him and Jey being the SmackDown Tag Team Champions while Reigns is the Universal Champion. He ended up saying that if Reigns wants to see what he can do with Cesaro, let's get it. So that was what Jimmy had to say. And then we went to the main event, Jimmy Uso versus Cesaro. This was a good match here. We had the match start off with Jimmy and Cesaro just locking up. Cesaro ended up nailing the drop kick to Jimmy. He was talking some trash while Jimmy was down. Cesaro then ended up catching Jimmy and delivered a power slam. Jimmy ended up blocking a shot, and Jimmy looked like he landed bad on his knee. And Jimmy ended up super kicking Cesaro. Went for the cover. Cesaro ended up kicking out too. So Jimmy Uso started unloading on Cesaro. He ended up locking Cesaro with a headlock. Cesaro ended up fighting up, and he ended up nailing Jimmy with a suplex in the middle of the ring. So Jimmy ended up getting back up. He ended up hitting the Enziguri to Cesaro. Went for the cover. Cesaro ended up kicking out too. So we saw later on Cesaro was unloading with uppercuts to Jimmy Uso in the corner. Cesaro ended up nailing the clothesline to Jimmy. He went for the cover. Jimmy ended up kicking out too. Cesaro then went for the neutralizer, but it got blocked by Jimmy with a back body drop. So Jimmy ended up dropping Cesaro with a kick to the chin, which he went for the cover. Cesaro ended up kicking out too. So we saw at the end of the match, Jimmy ended up going back into the ring, and Roman Reigns ended up attacking Cesaro from behind. So Cesaro ended up winning the match by disqualification. So post-match, Jimmy started yelling at Roman from the ring about how he had the match under control. So they were arguing on the ramp. Jey Uso was watching from the ring. Jimmy was saying that Reigns thinks it's always about himself, but it's not. So Cesaro ended up attacking Jey Uso in the ring, started beating him down. Reigns ran and got back to the ring. Reigns ended up taking Cesaro out. Reigns ended up telling Jimmy to get his ass in here and help out. So Cesaro was then unloading on Reigns with uppercuts, and he ended up going for the neutralizer, but Jey ended up making the save, and Jey was beating Cesaro down. Jey was yelling at Jimmy to get in the ring and help. So Cesaro then ended up uppercutting Jey Uso, started working on Jey Uso. Reigns ended up capitalizing, he ended up retreating out to the floor. So Jimmy was also knocked off the apron by Cesaro. Cesaro then ended up grabbing Jey, and Cesaro then pointed up at Roman, who was standing on the ramp. He was standing there with Paul Heyman. Cesaro then ended up pointing at Reigns, and he ended up dropping Jey with the neutralizer. So Cesaro then looked up at Reigns, and Cesaro was like, "This is going to be you Sunday." So he ended up dropping Jey Uso with another neutralizer. So that was how SmackDown went off the air. That was how the WrestleMania Backlash Go Home show for SmackDown ended. But overall, it was a good match up until the disqualification from Roman. But overall, just a very meh SmackDown tonight, in my opinion. But anyways, that's it for the SmackDown review. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. Check out my AEW Dynamite review if you guys haven't checked it out. It's up. It's the previous video. But anyways, that's it for this video. I don't know if I'll be covering WrestleMania Backlash on Sunday. So, but gotta see. But anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all later.